other breaking news coming in. It's another win for the Modi government. UK Home Secretary orders extradition of fugitive Sanjay Bhandari, who has 14 days time to appeal now. The ED had cited Republic's London reports on Sanjay Bhandari. ED had sought NBW, a non-bailable warrant against Bhandari. And now the UK Home Secretary has ordered Sanjay Bhandari's extradition. It's a massive win. And joining me is my senior editor, Shravan Sen, to take our viewers through this breaking development, what it means. It's a big win. Shravan, it's over to you to take over.
Well, Rukma, in fact, we're now given to understand that UK Home Secretary has signed the file for extradition of Sanjay Bhandari. In fact, this was signed on 12th of January. That's the latest report that we are getting in from London, and a confirmation from the Enforcement Directorate coming in that Suella Braverman has basically ordered Bhandari's extradition on 12th of January. In fact, he has 14 days starting from 12th of January to put in an application for this entire matter. What's going to be important to point out here is the fact that this is undoubtedly a big win for the government, but also the Enforcement Directorate in particular, given the fact that they had already filed a charge sheet in this particular case and thereafter had moved the court. In fact, Republic TV was the first Indian network to have tracked down Sanjay Bhandari, who was on the run. In fact, Bhandari was arrested in London on 15th of July 2020 and had a conditional bail. He's basically accused of, under the Black Money Act and the Income Tax Act, by failing to disclose assets and income outside India, and of money laundering. These are some of the charges. It is also alleged that he had a number of companies in India and various overseas jurisdictions, and that he had acquired significant income outside India and acquired assets in overseas territories without making a disclosure of the same to the tax authorities here in India. These properties in particular are in UK and in Dubai. What's important to point out here is that the Enforcement Directorate's investigation essentially found out that there are certain properties linked to political leaders here in India, and he almost turned out to be the front man for the same.
And a lot of credit in this goes to the Indian government and the efforts that the government has been putting in order to ensure that justice is done in the manner in this matter, Shravan.
It is a win for the government, but more importantly, it is the work that has been done by the central agencies in terms of the collecting the evidence. Remember, the first raids that were carried out in the national capital at premises linked to Sanjay Bhandari was by the Income Tax Department. This was under the Black Money Act, and thereafter several incriminating documents were recovered by the Income Tax Department. This includes the sensitive defense deal papers that were accessed, and more importantly, the proceeds of crime were also finally identified by the Enforcement Directorate following a detailed investigation. It turns out that he was the beneficiary of multiple deals that were signed during the UPA era. In fact, there have been allegations of the fact that he is he has turned out to become the front man for Robert Vadra, considered to be a close aide of Robert Vadra. In fact, Robert Vadra was also called in for questioning by the Enforcement Directorate on numerous occasions. Now, this was pertaining to a property in London, which the Enforcement Directorate suspects is a Benami property and was basically looked after by none other than Sanjay Bhandari for Robert Vadra. In fact, there have been email exchanges between Robert Vadra and Sanjay Bhandari on the page of both in terms of in London, which once again the Enforcement Directorate basically suspects that a property that was bought from the proceeds of crime.
Right, Shravan. He has still 14 days time to appeal. What does that mean? And going by previous cases, what can we expect?
Well, it is a basic procedure. It's a procedure that was followed even during the other cases which was being pursued by the Indian government through the Crown Prosecution Service in London. In fact, it turns out that he would have 14 days for making an appeal in the court. Remember, this would essentially mean a long-drawn process. It does not really mean that he's going to be brought back to India anytime soon. It follows a pretty much same timeline the way we have seen in the case of Vijay Mallya as well as Nirav Modi, where a trial would be carried out in the Westminster court and then thereafter the higher courts in the United Kingdom. So there are multiple layers of appeals that Sanjay Bhandari would enjoy, at least in terms of legal opportunities for Sanjay Bhandari. But certainly it means more trouble for him given the fact that they've accepted that there is a case of extradition in this entire matter.
But Sean, if he is extradited, as we are looking at the situation now, the order has been passed, but if he is finally extradited, even after he has filled in that 14 days of appeal and brought back, and the charges can be proved against him, he can be brought to book, it would not be just the fact that, a money launderer would be getting a jail term. It would be a major achievement as dealing with the bigger picture, the bigger problem of black money in India. Would you agree?
Well, in fact, Rukma, as I pointed out, this is a long-drawn process. The extradition process in United Kingdom is a far more laborious task. And for the central agencies, they will have to also convince the court in London that this is a fit case for extradition. They would essentially do that by providing evidence of the fact that this is also a crime committed before the United Kingdom. If you see it through the prism of the laws in the United Kingdom, then of course the money laundering charges basically stand, and that would be the first priority of the central agencies. In the past, remember, they've been very successful in convincing the UK courts as far as the case that was registered against economic fugitive Nirav Modi and also Vijay Mallya. In both cases, they've been very successful, starting from the Westminster court all the way up to the Supreme Court. They've been able to convince the courts. So it is going to be important that the Enforcement Directorate through the Crown Prosecution Service in London tries and convince the court the fact that Sanjay Bhandari has committed a crime for which he needs to face the law here in India. And they will also be providing details of the charge sheet that has been filed against Sanjay Bhandari, where they've collected evidence of the fact that there have been multiple companies that were floated by Sanjay Bhandari, and the proceeds of crime were essentially being diverted through multiple companies based out of places like Dubai and various other countries.